about the fourth stimulus payment. A ton of news that you have to cover. The rebates will be sent directly to taxpayers' bank accounts through direct deposit. Otherwise, the rebate will be sent as a check in the mail for those who do not have direct deposit set up. The total received for the rebates is a set of fractions of one paid income tax, meaning higher earners will earn much more than that. A person who makes 35 grand will receive 200, while someone who makes $1 million would receive 7,000. There's plenty of time for people to file a tax return, as the deadline for this rebate is extended through September of next year. Prices rose less than expected, and the latest sign is that the runaway inflation has been gripping the economy even worse. The Labor Department reported again that the Consumer Price Index, which measures a wide basket of goods and services, rose just 0.1% from the previous month and increased 7.1% from a year ago. Economists had already been expecting a 0.3% monthly increase and a 7.3% 12% monthly rate. So the increase from a year ago, while above the Federal Reserve's target for a healthy inflation level, was tied for the lowest since November. It excludes volatile food and energy prices, and so-called the core consumer price index rose 0.2% and 6% on an annual basis. Joe Biden celebrated today the positive consumer price index report. He said that it showed inflation is easing in the country ahead of the holiday season. Biden also said we had learned last month that the inflation rate has come down from what many experts expected, in a world where inflation is rising in double digits in many major economies around the world. The easing suggests that the Federal Reserve's interest rate increase could be working as intended, and the Fed may be able to change and achieve the soft landing it wants to achieve, and avoid a large-scale economic shutdown. The report is likely to be reassuring of the Fed and the central bank Jerome Powell when it comes to its meeting on Wednesday. The Fed is expected to only increase interest rates by half point, as opposed to the 3/4 points it has deployed throughout the year. The report marks the 5th month in a row where the rate of inflation has declined in the United States. Biden said, "I want to be clear, it's going to take time to get inflation back to normal levels as you make the transition to a more stable and steady growth." Biden said he hopes prices will return to normal by the end of the year, if not sooner, but he stressed he cannot make that prediction. And the president also said that many Americans are currently struggling, and the economic news provides a little bit of joy for the holidays. So, is that enough, everybody, from President Biden? Is he doing enough for the American people? And do you think that more stimulus payments should be sent out before the end of the year? Because I definitely support more stimulus right now, especially during 2022 and 2023. A ton of new good news, but the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI and SSDI. Here's the most important news that I want you guys to know. Now, millions of taxpayers could also face a tax refund shock when they file their tax returns due to the expiration of many crisis benefits that lawmakers had designed to help people weather the crisis. Mark Steber, Chief Tax Information Officer, told reporters that many families may see smaller refunds when they file their taxes in early 2023, as the current tax year is just expensive. And the benefits that juice the refunds this year have largely lapsed, ranging from federal stimulus to the expanded tax credit. Even the IRS warned taxpayers that checks may be smaller next year, and the tax agency cautioned that refunds may be smaller in 2023. That means less stimulus money, but it's not what we want to hear. Because, folks, the typical tax refund is around $2,700, or roughly what happens to taxpayers and what they got in 2021 for their taxes. Each taxpayer situation is different.
For funding the government in the next fiscal year. It will ensure the federal government has all the resources necessary to serve the public at full capacity. It will make sure our troops in uniform are taken care of. And I expect an omnibus will contain priorities both sides want to see passed into law, including more funding for Ukraine and the Electoral Count Act, which my colleagues in the Rules Committee have done great work on. It'll be great to get that done. After all the work we've done this year to pass important new bills, like the PACT Act and the CHIPS and Science Act and so much more, a CR into next year could prevent the investments secured in these bills from going out the door. The vast majority of us don't want to go down that road. So again, the best option, the most responsible option, is to proceed toward an omnibus, even if it won't contain everything both sides want. Now on judges. Later this morning, it will be my honor to come before the Senate Judiciary Committee to
So hopefully President Biden can get the stimulus check sent out and out to the people who need it the most. We all know that President Biden has to do more for the American people and send out stimulus payments sooner than later.
The equity market is not representing the U.S. economy, And I would especially say that I think the tech sector does not represent the U.S. economy. So when we look at the JOLTS data earlier this week, job separations actually fell. When we look at initial jobless claims, they're very low, historically low levels. We're seeing very robust job gains in terms of 260,000 on month per average. The last time we were at this unemployment rate, we were talking about 125, 150,000 job gains. So the context is really important here. We're still adding a lot of jobs. Labor separations remain very low. Wage growth up 0.4%, up 4.7% year on year. It's a very tight labor market, and I wouldn't overemphasize what's happening within the tech sector and extrapolate that to the broader economy at the moment.
Lakshman, it seems that the Fed is comfortable with taking its terminal rate, the rate that it looks to end some of its policy pathway at, to end.
Now, millions of Social Security beneficiaries could receive an extra $200 monthly benefit boost. Several lawmakers in Congress have put forward a new legislation that would increase benefits for many seniors this year. Now, this is awesome news. A new bill could also boost Social Security recipients' monthly income by the $200 and increase the overall longevity of the program. Democratic Representatives Peter DeFazio and Bernie Sanders introduced the Social Security Expansion Act days after the SSI announced that the program was in jeopardy. The agency estimated Americans will stop receiving full Social Security benefits as early as 2035 if action is not taken. Under the Social Security Expansion Act, Social Security beneficiaries receive an additional monthly $200 check, totaling an annual bonus of $2,400. And according to CBS News, this would yield a 12% increase from the average monthly check of approximately $1,700. Anyone who is a current Social Security recipient or will be eligible in 2023. Tax rebate this summer. The rebates are part of the $663 million in tax relief included in the state budget that the governor recently signed into law and is touting as part of his re-election campaign. The governor said during a press conference, "I'm going to do everything I can to make Connecticut the most family-friendly state in the country." Republicans are equating the checks, which are expected to go out in late August, with the income tax rebates that the governor gave out in 1998, which Democrats criticized at the time as election year handouts. In recent years, Democrats led by representatives have tried to establish a new child tax credit in Connecticut, but the effort has so far failed. Connecticut is among nearly 3 dozen states that are seizing on flush budget coffers to provide tax relief to their residents, to ease the burden of record high inflation. Republicans have said that the relief doesn't go far enough, while Democrats are pointing to federal rules that limit the amount of tax cuts that states, which use the crisis relief money to balance their budgets, can provide. The U.S. economy is far better shape than it was at the onset of the crisis 2 years ago. GDP growth is up significantly, and many workers, especially lower earners, have seen a boost in wages, though the effect of this has been tempered by recent inflation. 2 years ago, the new crisis and ensuing economic effects created much more uncertainty in the economy, with spiking unemployment and entire sectors of the economy shutting down. In response, the federal government stepped in with unprecedented levels of financial relief to U.S. households and the economy, and that was in 3 major stimulus packages. One of the signature components of Congress's economic relief effort was a series of stimulus payments made to U.S. households.